My role, I know you guys have learned a lot about the county over the past 8 weeks. I report directly to the Commissioner's Court. And we also have a lot of elected officials in the county. Those elected officials still have purview over their teams and their offices. And so where I fit into that picture is the teams that report up to the Commissioner's Court. They have moved some teams strategically over underneath me, and I'll kind of line out what those teams are and briefly what they do. And then some of the teams still report directly to the Commissioner's Court. For example, Russell's team. Any of our senior directors report directly to the Commissioner's Court still, as well as Connie's office. And then we have a budget director and a legal counsel office. They still all report directly to the Commissioner's Court. And so aside from managing the teams that are assigned to me, I aid in some of the strategic planning for the county. I oversee the strategic plan that we put in place a couple of years ago that I'm sure y'all have already heard about through the course of this process. We have 6 key goal leaders that help lead those initiatives for each one of those characteristics of our strategic plan. We meet quarterly, those teams meet quarterly, and we work together in conjunction with each other since a lot of those goals overlap. You can't really have a lot of communications without it interlinking in some way with IT. We can't build a great culture for the county without focusing on making it a safe place to live and providing the justice areas that we need. So those interlink and we all work together to keep that strategic plan flowing. It's probably been mentioned that we have a new dashboard for our strategic plan that's available to the public. I'm seeing no, so good, I can cover the dashboard, perfect. We have a new dashboard that we are really excited about. It just opened up for the public a couple of weeks ago, and that's available just on our main county website. You can go in and look at those any of those 6 goals. And so if you want to know more about communication or about what we do for our employees, for our employee culture, you can go in there and see kind of those parameters that they've set. You can see the progress on them. You can see if any budget's been tied to those, and you can see some new initiatives that might be coming out. So you can stay up to date on what's going on with our strategic plan. For new personnel, I do still assist some. Before this role, I was in the role of the Senior Director of Human Resources for the county. And so I still assist some with high-level personnel decisions and interview processes for executive-level positions that we have across the county. One example of that, we hired a new EMS director over this past year. I also assist the judges over in the courthouse with interviewing for magistrate positions. And so some of those positions, I still am involved in that process. Training, there's been a lot of training over the past year, as well as myself and my team that I hired, but just getting new people kind of shifted around that are underneath me. For example, I had to hire my replacement, and so that was job number 1. I couldn't start my new job without first finding somebody to lead our HR team. And so we got that in place. I am on several committees and go to conferences annually, and so we recently had our benefits conference. There's a lot of training that's involved with our self-funded county benefits plan. And so what that means is the county and employees pay everything in and cover the cost of what that plan is to our employees. And we manage that ourselves with an 8-person benefits committee that submits recommendations to our Commissioner's Court for final approval. The departments that report under me, I mentioned just touching base on those briefly. We have a pretrial department that does our pretrial services. That staffs all of our support staff for our magistrates department. So when you think about people going through our jail system and getting out on bond and seeing a magistrate, it's all the support services for that team. We also have our supervision team and our screening team. And so those are the people, if you think about the adult probation system is on the back end after they have already been tried and are found guilty of a crime. This is in the middle role. So these are people that have not been found guilty yet. They're still presumed innocent, and so it's helping them through that process. We get them out on release and provide some supervision so they can safely be back in the community, they can be earning wages, they can be with their families, and hopefully being productive members of society, and we still make sure that they come in for their court dates and do things as possible. Now, please note, these are not people that are on capital murder charges. These are people that are on lesser offenses that the judges feel that they can safely be integrated back into society while their cases are pending. I already mentioned HR. HR is still under my purview. The Veterans Services Officer, we have a Veterans Services Director and his staff that work for the county that do a fantastic job getting additional resources for veterans. They also have a grant that they administer for emergency help for veterans. And so when we talk about like the food pantry for the animal shelter, think of this for veterans. So if somebody's having trouble paying their rent, might need electric bill assistance, we do have funds that are gifted to us, and we have a person that administers that grant. So if you know of any veterans that live in Williamson County that are in need, please get them in touch. Our veteran service page is on our Williamson County website, and get them in touch with that office so we can provide them with extra support. We have our Community Development Block Grant Director, which is a federal grant that's giving that puts money directly back into the communities. She presents stuff to our Commissioners Court every year, and they approve what they do. A lot of it is infrastructure related, so perhaps you have a lower income area and some sidewalks might need to be put in so they can get to a resource like a grocery store or pharmacy or something like that. It's a lot of that. Animal Services is one of those hybrid groups that has just moved under my office. We have several groups like that, and Veteran Services is also one of those where Misty has a board that actually is over her, that governs. It has members from each one of the cities and from our county. Our county commissioner, Valerie Covey, is the head of that board, the chairperson this year, and oversees that board. But for the day-to-day time off request, administrative support, if she has questions and kind of just needs to bounce ideas off of somebody, then I'm there for her. And so I provide that support for Animal Services. Extension Services is the same way. We have Extension Services agents that are provided through Texas A&M, but their staff are actually county employees, and the county pays for a portion of their contracts. And so even though the hiring and firing decisions are made by Texas A&M for those Extension Services agents, I help if they need contracts getting through, posting for positions, walking them through if they have some employee relations issues, working with HR on those kind of things. Our purchasing agent also reports under me. They are in line with that Veteran Services Director, where by code, the Commissioners Court hires and fires them, but the day-to-day operational stuff funnels through us. So we help them with policy reviews. Again, just somebody to bounce ideas off of, to get new initiatives. If there ever is any sort of issue with any of the departments, and that's something that I would bring forward either to the boards or the Commissioners Courts for their review. I have my executive assistant, and then I have 4 death investigators that report directly to me. And that is something new this year. And so I'll kind of segue into that in just a minute and cover a few more things first. I do a lot of policy reviews. So we have countywide policies, as you can imagine. We have IT policies that I share and help provide information on that. We do a lot of process documents in offices. As I've been moving into offices, that's something that's really important to me. If somebody, unfortunately doesn't make it into work the next day and is no longer there, we need to be able to keep that office up and running for continuity for county government. And so making sure that we have everything in place where if you're not there, somebody could pick up something, they know what your job is, they could figure it out and make it through and get us until we had somebody else back into place. We did that with our death investigators. We created a whole new policy document for them since that's a brand new program. We have revised policies with our fleet review program, and so that's all county vehicles. HR has an employee policy manual, and I still help with edits and policy and process documents and review those. What else? PR bond. People that are out on personal recognizant bond, we work through that process with the judges, and so just a lot of different countywide processes, kind of tweaking and helping go through those. A lot of meetings. A lot of my job is meetings and presentations, letting people know what we do, having transition meetings with departments and planning meetings. We have a new civil service committee that is with the county since the county voted in civil service for those employees under the sheriff's office about a year and a half ago. So we have a committee that works on that. I already mentioned our benefits committee. One of the big projects that we are working on that y'all have probably heard a little bit about is our overall master planning for county buildings within the downtown Georgetown area, about moving our jail and justice center out of downtown Georgetown and what we'll do with those buildings and spaces that are left. We are currently in bid to get a project or program manager for that. And so I'll work closely with that person as we work through that plan over the next 5 or 6 years. Jumping back to death investigators, I mentioned just wanting to spend a couple minutes on that since that's something new for the county. Historically in Texas, you either have a medical examiner or you have justice of the peace that determine cause and manner of death and sign autopsies for people who've passed away in the county. This could be people that have passed away at a hospital and have been there less than 24 hours, and so the hospital may not have their full medical history or feel confident in certifying their cause and manner of death. This is homicides. Anything that is an unnatural death. It of course includes suicides, drownings, anything like that, that there might be something more investigative that's needed to be there. Hospice deaths, some hospice deaths fall under this because sometimes people go under hospice and they may not be there very long, or there could be a suspicious hospice death. And so that team looks at those. Our Justice of the Peaces, we're doing this for years and doing a great job, but as our population has now grown, I think I saw the latest number was 727,000. We have grown into the fact that we can't just have one person covering these along with all of their justice duties. It's not the only thing that those justices of the peace do. They have, of course, criminal and civil cases. They have a team to manage. They have a lot of stuff going on in their offices. So we came up with an idea last year to bring on 4 death investigators. We have 1 assigned to each justice of the peace, and they are their eyes and ears out in the field. They are all trained in this area. They have extensive experience in this area. They come with us with a variety of specialties, so we were really blessed to get an amazingly talented team. And they go out and go to the scene. So they're going to investigate those cause and manners of death. They take the phone calls from our communications department when there is a death. They're the ones talking to hospitals and law enforcement. And then they present a package to that Justice of the Peace to review. And then that Justice of the Peace is still able to perform their statutorily required duties where they are determining that cause and manner of death after reviewing all of the investigative reports, and they're able to sign off on that autopsy or certificate of death. Looking ahead, whenever I talk about our death investigators, at some point, we will have some form of a medical examiner's office, whether that's a regional approach or whether we're looking at having our own medical examiner. This will all be determined years out. There are current bills in the legislature to move that threshold from 2.5 million people down to 1 million people. It was 1 million people previously years ago, and it got moved up. And so we'll keep an eye on that. We're still at least a decade or so out from that, from having to have that need, but that takes a lot of planning and a lot of resources. It's not just the personnel that would need to be staffing a medical examiner's office, it's the equipment that is so expensive. We already have a facility that could be used for that if the Commissioner's Court deemed that appropriate, that was purchased last year during our budget process, and it's over in the Austin Lake Creek area. And so we got very lucky that we found a facility that already has a lot of the bones that you would need for an ME's office. And whenever I'm talking about that, it's the ventilation, the secured rooms, the coolers, the large scale, doors for transport vehicles to bring bodies in and that sort of thing. So it's already set up a lot that way because it was a TxDOT testing facility before that. I already mentioned the master planning that we're doing. We're in the legislative season, so we're all keeping an eye on legislative reviews. That's something looking into the future. Counties larger than us may have a legislative person. They may have somebody that specifically focuses on grants, whereas right now our grants are pieced out. And so those are all options for the future. And then succession planning. As we have turnover in our departments and as we add more people onto my team, we'll probably do some more shifting around as to our organizational structure and where people report to. That's about as fast as I could go over it. I know I was like, I don't know that I took a breath. So if anybody, I wanted to make sure that we had just a few minutes for questions before we move into anything else. So if anybody has questions about anything you heard from me or anything just as y'all have gone through this, because I know today is graduation day. Yes.
I have a comment more than a question. I just want to say, as a spouse of a Wilco employee, thank you for sending the postcard about the personified health and all that. Y'all changed software to Medicare last year, so everything was feeding until it wasn't. And so we get a discount if you're healthy.
Yes.
Right? And so I was like, well, I am above all of these things, but the doctors that I went to didn't fill the, it wasn't the specific reporting that was needed. So anyway, we kind of got stuck last year. So I just want to say thank you because, that was a big help. And also sending it to the spouse because I don't know if anybody else has dealt with things that come through your spouse. Sometimes it goes to their work email and they forget to.
So we acknowledge that 86% of healthcare decisions are made by the female spouse. And we have a lot of men that work for the county, and those conversations and communications do not always trickle home. So we appreciate that we send those friendly reminders. And for anybody who doesn't know, we do offer a 100% wellness premium discount if you follow a couple of steps to ensure that we are encouraging our employees to have a good culture of wellness across the county. Yes.
So, being an HR guy once upon a time, I appreciate that taking a position like this could seem like bits and bobs. But in addition to your own scope, what you do really facilitates all these other departments and greatly appreciate it. It's not an easy task, a lot of coordination required and such, so thank you for doing that.
Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate that. It is. It's a lot pieced together. Actually, I was with one of my team members the other day, and she actually told me, she goes, I forget you have other departments. And I said, I do have other departments. And she's like, I just focus on mine, and that's it. And I'm like, I have a lot of departments. But luckily, I like to be busy. I like to multitask. And I've been with the county for almost 19 years. I've moved around. I've been in several departments in the county and somehow always just segued right back to management positions. I really like working with people and mentoring people and developing people and fixing processes. If there's a better way we can do something or a different way, I like to try new things. So it's been a good fit. Any other questions? Awesome.